Look at the stack of bills sitting on your kitchen table right now: the electric bill, the heating bill, the grocery receipts that somehow doubled in the last few years. Now imagine opening that mailbox and feeling nothing. No dread, no tight chest, because almost nothing in there has power over you anymore. That is exactly how the old mountain families live, high up where the roads end, and it is not because they are rich. It is because of one single habit, one way of thinking, that they pass down from grandmother to grandchild like a family treasure. Today I am going to hand you that habit, piece by piece, and show you the practical tricks that grow out of it, tricks you can start using in your own home this very week to cut your bills down to size. And near the end, I will share the one evening ritual the old mountain folk still practice every single night, a ritual so simple it sounds almost too easy, yet it quietly slashes 3 different bills at once. Stay with me, because that one is worth the whole video. Here is the truth nobody wants to say out loud. The modern world trained us to solve every problem with our wallet. Cold? Turn up the thermostat. Hungry? Order something. Shirt has a hole? Throw it away and buy another. Every solution costs money, and every month the bills grow like weeds. But the old mountain folk never learned that reflex, because up there, far from stores and far from help, money could not save you. The nearest shop might be half a day away through snow. So they built their lives on a different rule, a saying their grandparents drilled into them: use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. That is the habit. Before a single coin leaves their hand, they ask, can I make this? Can I fix this? Can I stretch this? Or can I simply live without it? It sounds small. It is not. It is the difference between working your whole life to feed the bills and living free. If you believe, like I do, that the old ways carried a wisdom we threw away too fast, do me one small favor. Subscribe to this channel, because every week we rescue another piece of this knowledge before it disappears with the last generation that remembers it. Now let us get our hands dirty, because this habit shows up in every corner of their homes, and I am going to walk you through it one room at a time. The first place the old mountain families apply this habit is the kitchen, because they know something we forgot. The grocery bill is not really a grocery bill. A big part of it is a waste bill. Studies in modern households show that families throw away a shocking share of the food they buy, and every scrap in the trash is money you worked for gone. The mountain grandmothers do not allow it. In their kitchens, nothing edible dies in vain. Watch how they do it. Every vegetable peel, every onion skin, every carrot top and celery end goes into a jar or a bag kept cold. When the bag is full, it goes into a pot with water, a little salt, and whatever herbs are on hand, and it simmers slow until it becomes a rich, golden broth. That broth becomes soup, becomes gravy, becomes the liquid for cooking grains, so they taste like something instead of nothing. You are literally eating food you already paid for a second time. Do that once a week and watch what happens to your grocery spending, and they go further. Bones from a roast chicken never hit the trash. They go back in the pot, covered with water, with a splash of vinegar to help pull the goodness from the bones, and they simmer for hours on the back of the stove. The result is a broth so nourishing the old folks call it winter medicine, though I will say it honestly, it is tradition and good food, not a cure for anything. Stale bread? They never see stale bread as garbage. It becomes toasted crumbs for coating food. It becomes bread pudding with a little milk and sugar. It becomes thick slices laid in the bottom of a soup bowl the way the old-timers always ate, letting the hot broth soak in. Even the fat from cooking gets saved. The drippings from bacon or a roast go into a jar by the stove, and that jar replaces bottle after bottle of cooking oil you no longer have to buy. One jar, kept cool, used within a reasonable time, and your frying is free. And then there is the stretching, the grandmother's quiet art. Up in the mountains, meat is precious, so it is never the meal, it is the flavor of the meal. A small piece of meat disappears into a big pot of beans, barley, potatoes, or oats, and suddenly one portion feeds 6 people and feeds them well. You can do this tomorrow. Take any meat dish you normally make and double the beans, the lentils, the grains, the vegetables. The taste stays, the cost drops by half, and honestly, most of the old mountain dishes we now call comfort food were born exactly this way, from a clever woman making a little go a long way. Even the morning coffee earns its keep twice, because the spent grounds go into the garden soil or the compost, and a crushed eggshell goes right along with them to feed the beds. Add up the broth, the bread, the bones, the fat, and the stretching, and a family can pull real money back out of the trash can every single month, not by eating worse, but by eating the way people ate when food was respected. But the kitchen is only the beginning, because the next place this habit strikes is the biggest bill most of us have, and the way they handle it will change how you think about winter. The second thing the old mountain folk do is something they say in 5 words. Heat the person, not the house. Think about what your heating system does. It warms every room, every hallway, every closet, even the rooms nobody enters all day. You are paying to keep empty air comfortable. The mountain families find that idea almost funny. Up where winters bite hard, they heat small and they heat smart. They live in one warm room through the cold months, and they let the rest of the house sleep cold. Doors closed. A rolled blanket or a long cloth sausage filled with sand laid against the bottom of every door to stop the draft. Because a draft under a door can steal heat all day long. You can make one of those draft stoppers in 20 minutes from an old pair of trousers, and it costs you nothing. Then they dress for the season indoors. Wool, always wool, because wool keeps warming you even when it gets damp, something cotton cannot do. A wool sweater, wool socks, a wool blanket over the knees in the evening. The old folks say a good wool layer is worth 10 degrees on the thermostat, and every degree you turn down saves real money on the bill year after year. And here is the trick almost nobody under 60 remembers. The warm bed trick. Before bedtime, the grandmother fills a sturdy bottle with hot water, wraps it in a towel, and slides it under the covers near the foot of the bed half an hour before anyone climbs in. The old-timers used a brick warmed by the fire, wrapped in flannel, and some mountain families still do exactly that today. You step into a bed that is already warm, you sleep deep, and the bedroom heater stays off all night. Just be sensible with it. Always wrap a hot bottle or a warmed brick in cloth so it never touches bare skin, and never use anything cracked or leaking. One more piece. They put rugs down on bare floors in winter, even old folded blankets, because a cold floor pulls heat out of a room and out of your feet. Warm feet, warm body. That is not folklore, that is just how it feels, and your heating bill will prove it. And do not forget the oldest heater of all, the sun. The mountain families work with it like a tool. On a clear winter day, every curtain on the sunny side of the house opens wide and the light pours in, warming the room for free, hour after hour. The moment the sun drops, those same curtains close, and the heavier the better, because a window at night is a hole in your wall as far as heat is concerned, and a thick curtain, even an old blanket hung over the rod through the coldest weeks, holds the day's warmth in like a lid on a pot. Open by day, sealed by night. It costs nothing. It takes 10 seconds twice a day, and it works on every house ever built. Now you might think keeping warm is the hardest part of mountain life. It is not. The hardest part is light and power after dark, and what they do about it leads us straight to the third secret. The third thing the mountain elders practice is mastering the dark hours, because evening is when the meters spin fastest in a modern home. Lights in 5 rooms, screens glowing, appliances humming. The old families flip that picture. When the sun starts dropping, they finish the outdoor work, and the whole household draws into one room, the room with the fire or the stove, one room lit, one room heated, everything else dark and resting. They rise closer to the sun, and they sleep closer to the sun, especially in winter, and their bodies thank them for it. You do not have to live by candlelight to borrow this. Just try the one-room evening twice a week. Everyone in one room after dinner, one lamp, the rest of the house powered down. You will feel the difference in the bill, and many families tell me they feel the difference in each other too, because something happens when people share one warm pool of light instead of scattering to separate rooms. The old folks never lost that. They also hunt down the silent thieves. Anything that glows in the dark when it is supposedly off, the little standby lights on televisions and chargers and machines, is drinking power all night, every night, all year. The mountain way is brutal and simple. If it is not working for you right now, it does not get fed. Unplug it or put a cluster of devices on one switch and kill them all at bedtime with one flick. It takes 1 second and it pays you back every month forever. And while we are on the subject of things that quietly rob you, the next trick is about something you already own, something you probably threw away this week, that the old mountain families guard like it was silver. The fourth secret is wood ash. And if you have a fireplace, a wood stove, or a fire pit, you are sitting on a free supply of one of the most useful materials the old world ever knew. The mountain grandmothers keep a metal bucket of cooled, clean wood ash by the door, and they reach for it constantly. First use, the garden. Wood ash carries potash and minerals that many garden plants love, and the old folks dust a light sprinkle over the vegetable beds and around fruit trees, especially where the soil runs sour. Go easy, a little at a time, because too much can do more harm than good, and keep it away from plants that like acid soil, like blueberries. Second use, cleaning. This one amazes people. The finest white ash, mixed with a little water into a paste, scrubs blackened pots and cloudy glass better than most products you can buy, because ash is gently gritty and naturally cuts grease. The old-timers cleaned the glass of their lanterns and stove doors with nothing but a damp cloth dipped in ash, and it still works today on the glass of a wood stove. Third use, the ice. A scoop of ash thrown on an icy path gives instant grip underfoot, and unlike salt, it does not eat your boots or burn the grass come spring. Fourth use, odors. A small open container of ash in the corner of a damp cellar or an old refrigerator drinks up smells the way baking soda does for free. And the fifth use is the deep one. For centuries, mountain families made their own soap from two ingredients they did not buy, saved cooking fats and lye drawn from wood ash with water. That is real history, and some families still practice it. But hear me clearly on this one. Lye is caustic. It can burn skin and eyes badly. Traditional soap making is a wonderful skill, but learn it properly with gloves and eye protection and good instructions before you ever attempt it. Even if you never make soap, knowing that your fire produces fertilizer, scouring powder, grip for ice, and odor control means you stop buying 4 different products. That is the habit at work. Use it up all the way down to the ashes. And speaking of stopping buying things, the fifth secret takes aim at a bill you may not even think of as a bill, but it bleeds money out of your house every single year. The fifth thing the old mountain families refuse to pay for is new clothes, because in their world, clothing is not fashion, it is equipment, and you do not throw away good equipment over a small hole. Every mountain household keeps a mending basket. Needles, strong thread, a wooden darning egg or just a smooth stone, buttons cut from every garment that ever truly dyed, and patches of sturdy cloth. When a sock wears thin at the heel, it gets darned, woven back together with thread in 10 quiet minutes by the fire, and that sock goes on to live another year. When trousers tear at the knee, a patch goes on, and up in the mountains a patched knee was never shame. It was proof you worked. Here's the part that matters for your wallet. A quality wool sweater or a pair of well-made boots, maintained and repaired, outlives 10 cheap replacements, and the math always lands the same way. Caring for what you own is the highest-paying hourly work in the house. The elders also know the second-hand secret. They would rather have a 50-year-old wool coat than a brand-new thin one, and you can use that knowledge today, because thrift stores are full of old wool and leather that people gave away without knowing what they had. Check the labels for wool. Feel the weight. The old stuff is often better than anything on the rack today at 1/10 of the price. They treat their boots the same way they treat their tools. Good leather boots, brushed clean of mud after every hard day, dried slowly away from direct heat because fierce heat cracks leather, then fed now and then with a simple grease or wax rubbed in by hand. Boots cared for like that walk for 10, 15, 20 years, and the mountain men will tell you with a little pride that their boots are older than some of their neighbors' cars. 5 minutes of care a month, and you may never buy winter boots again. And one more trick from the grandmothers. When a garment truly dies, it still does not leave the house. It becomes patches, it becomes rags that replace paper towels, it becomes stuffing for that draft stopper we talked about, it becomes braided strips that turn into a rug for the cold floor. A single worn-out flannel shirt can save you a roll of paper towels a month for years. Nothing leaves while it still has value in it. Hold that sentence, because it is the heartbeat of everything in this video. Now, the sixth secret is the one that made the mountain families truly untouchable, the reason an empty road and a closed store never frightened them. The sixth practice is the full pantry, what the old folks call putting food by. The mountain families live by the calendar of plenty and scarcity. When food is cheap and abundant, in season, in surplus, on sale, they buy or harvest in bulk and they preserve it, so they never have to pay winter prices for anything. You can run the exact same play in a modern supermarket. When a staple you actually use hits a deep sale, that is your harvest day. And while you are there, buy the way they buy, whole and unprocessed, because the closer a food is to the way it grew, the less you pay for it. A whole chicken costs far less per pound than the same bird cut into neat pieces, and it gives you the bones for that broth we talked about. A bag of dried beans costs a fraction of the same beans cooked and canned, and a sack of oats or flour holds more breakfasts than a shelf of boxes. Every step of convenience you hand back to the factory is a step of money you keep. The mountain families never pay anyone to peel, slice, mix, or pour for them, and that single rule, all by itself, can shave a quarter off a grocery bill. But the real wisdom is in how they keep it all without a wall of freezers. They use the cool, the dry, and the dark. A box of sand in the coolest corner of a basement or garage keeps carrots and beets crisp for months. Just layer them in so they do not touch. Potatoes keep beautifully in the dark and cool, but never beside the apples, because apples breathe out a ripening gas that wakes the potatoes up and makes them sprout. Onions and squash want a dry, airy spot instead. Just knowing where each food likes to sleep can stretch your produce twice as long, and that is money straight back in your pocket. Then there is drying, the oldest trick of all. The mountain grandmothers string sliced apples, mushrooms, and herbs near the warmth of the stove until they are leathery and light, and those jars of dried food last the whole winter. You can do the same in a low oven or by a sunny window. Herbs especially, because the little jars of dried herbs at the store cost a fortune for a few grams, and a single living plant on your windowsill, dried in bundles, replaces dozens of them. Salt and vinegar do the heavier lifting, cucumbers into pickles, cabbage packed with salt until it turns into tangy kraut the old way. One honest word of caution here, because your safety matters more than any saving. Simple pickling, drying, and cold storage are very forgiving, but preserving low-acid foods like plain vegetables and especially meats in sealed jars must be done with proper modern methods and proper equipment, because doing it wrong can make food genuinely dangerous. The old folks respected their food rules, and we should respect ours. Get a trusted preserving guide and follow it to the letter. Do all this, and something quietly changes in you. The store stops being a place you depend on and becomes a place you visit when it suits you. That feeling is the beginning of freedom. And it connects to the seventh secret, which is not about food or heat at all. It is about the most expensive habit of the modern world, and the 3 questions the mountain elders use to kill it. The seventh secret is the pause. In the modern world, the distance between wanting something and buying it has shrunk to one tap of a finger, and that tiny distance is exactly where your money escapes. The old mountain folk live with a built-in pause, because for them, buying meant a long journey, so every purchase had to survive days of thinking first. They turned that delay into a discipline, 3 questions asked out loud before money moves. 1, can I make it or grow it? 2, can I fix or repurpose what I already have to do this job? 3, can I do without it for 1 month? If the answer to all 3 is no, and the want is still alive a month later, then they buy it once, the best quality they can manage, so they never have to buy it again. Try it. Write the 3 questions on a card and stick it where you keep your wallet or beside your computer. You will be stunned how many wants simply die during the pause. The elders say it best. The cheapest thing you will ever buy is the thing you never bought. And once a year, the old families take this discipline one step further with what you could call the reckoning. When autumn comes and the work slows down, they sit at the table and they account for everything: what came in, what went out, what was wasted, what was worth it. You can do your own reckoning in one evening with a stack of bank statements and a pencil. Go down the list line by line and put every regular payment on trial. Every subscription, every service, every standing charge must answer one question: what do you actually do for me? You will find money leaving your house every month for things you forgot you were paying for, services you stopped using a year ago, conveniences that stopped being convenient. Cancel one, just one, and you have given yourself a small raise that repeats every month for the rest of your life. Do the reckoning every autumn the way they do, and the bills never quietly pile back up. And there is a second half to this secret, the one that replaces the store entirely: the swap. In the high villages, money is often the last resort, because skills and surplus move from house to house. Eggs travel one way, firewood travels back. One neighbor sharpens tools, another bakes, another sews, and everyone is richer with no bills attached. You have a version of this within reach. Somewhere near you is a person who can fix what you cannot. and you can do something they cannot. The old folks would tell you that a good neighbor is worth more than a good bank account, and they would mean it literally. Now we have arrived. Everything so far saves you money in pieces. But the evening ritual I promised you at the start, the one the Mountain families still keep every single night, ties it all together and cuts 3 bills at once. Here it is. They call it, in different mountains and different languages, by names that all mean the same thing. The gathering, 1 fire, 1 pot, 1 lamp. Every evening, as the light fades, the whole household folds itself into a single room. The stove or the fire in that room is doing 3 jobs at the same time, and this is the genius of it. Job 1, it heats the room, the only room that needs heating, so the furnace rests. Job 2, it cooks the supper, because on top of that stove sits 1 pot, and into that pot goes the soup or the stew built from the broth, the vegetables, the beans, the scraps and savings of the whole week, simmering slowly on heat the family is already paying for to stay warm. The same fuel warms the people and feeds the people. Job 3, that pot of water on the back of the stove gives hot water for washing up and for the bottles that warm the beds. So the water heater rests too. 1 source of heat, 3 bills shrinking at once, heating, cooking, hot water. And around it, 1 lamp, 1 pool of light, the mending basket open, the cards or the checkerboard out, the day's stories told. The grandmother darns a sock. The grandfather tells the story he has told 100 times, and everyone lets him, because the 101st telling is part of the warmth, too. You can run your own version of the gathering tonight without a wood stove. 1 room. 1 pot meal made big enough for 2 more suppers, because cooking once and eating 3 times is one of the oldest money tricks alive. 1 lamp. Everything else in the house, dark, cold, unplugged, and resting. Do it 3 evenings a week and watch your next 2 utility bills. The savings are real, and they stack week after week, season after season, until one day you open that mailbox we talked about at the start and the numbers have lost their teeth. Then watch what it does that no bill can measure. Families that gather around 1 warm point in the evening talk more, worry less, and sleep better. The old mountain folk never read a study about that. They just never stopped doing it. So let us put the treasure back in the chest before we close. The habit is 1 sentence. Use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. From that 1 habit grows everything you heard today. The kitchen, where scraps become broth and nothing edible dies in vain. The winter rule, heat the person, not the house, with wool and warm bottles and draft stoppers made from old trousers. The mastery of the dark hours, 1 lit room and no silent thieves drinking power all night. The bucket of ash by the door, fertilizer and scouring powder and grip on the ice, all for free. The mending basket that makes clothes last decades and turns dead shirts into rags and rugs. The full pantry, food bought in plenty and kept through scarcity in sand and salt and dry air. The pause, 3 questions that kill 1,000 purchases. And the gathering, 1 fire, 1 pot, 1 lamp, 3 bills cut by a single evening flame. None of this requires a mountain. All of it requires only the decision to stop renting your life from the bills. And 1 last honest word, because I promised you truth along with the tricks. The old ways are wise, but they are not medicine. If your health is on the line, in the cold or anywhere else, talk to your doctor first, always. The mountain elders would be the first to tell you that, because surviving up there made them practical above all things. Here is what stays with me. We live surrounded by everything, and we feel like we never have enough. They live with almost nothing, and they have enough every single day. Maybe freedom was never about having more. Maybe it was about needing less and knowing how. So tell me in the comments, did your parents or your grandparents live this way? Did your grandmother keep a jar of drippings by the stove or a mending basket by her chair? And tell me where in the world you are watching from, because the answers under these videos have become a gathering of their own, a warm room full of people who remember. If this brought something back to you, share it with someone who grew up this way, subscribe if you have not yet, and come back next week, because there is more of this old knowledge to save, and we are saving it together. The fire is lit. Pull up a chair.